Okay, welcome back to 45 News Utah. Munchausen Effect. You guys check that out for yourself. Insanity Rule, a bunch of other platforms I have, whichever one I put it up on. But tonight we're going to talk about the inflation. So we're all enjoying this new inflationary period, right? You guys all excited? It's got everybody just bouncing, just excited, just extremely excited. So to give you a story, what happened to me today, I went to the store actually with my significant other, and I got to see what the inflationary prices are at the store. So we bought, a layer of groceries, nothing, no steak, no nothing like that. A little bit of pork. It was $8 for a little bit of pork. We bought just standard stuff. I bought like a Sunny Delight half-gallon thing. She bought a little bit of orange juice, stuff like that. And then I did buy a 12 pack of Pepsi, stuff like that. We had maybe a little bit of hair stuff for like a lotion or something like that she needed. But what really struck me was when we checked out. It was $174. So, until when you're out working and you don't really have the time to sit there and actually see how this is working because you're married, wife does all the work, go to the store, your money's depleted, you can't figure out why, you're making more money you ever have, take a great job, really bust some butt, work a lot of hours, but you can't understand why you're so broke. Well, there it is. Go to the store. Not to mention the price of your heating, your power has gone up. The fuel prices. They bring them down to make it seem better than what it was because it was through the roof, and then they drop it down a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, look, it's going down." None of that matters. We're going to talk about like the consumer price index. So let's get into consumer price index in the United States of America is 296.276 for a month of July 2022. The inflation rate year over year is 8.525%. Okay? So we'll get into wages in a minute. Why this dumpster fire and why everybody is not getting what's happening. France is getting it. Germany's getting it. They're starting to say this is the end of the privileged life we had. Basically, life we had is going to come to a screeching halt real quick. And I'll give you my insight into that. Hopefully, some economic people read this, listen to this, or listen to my show, and get a better idea of where we're actually heading, and maybe peel the layers of the onion back far enough so they can see the truth. What's truly coming is going to be catastrophic. It's a typhoon. It's a typhoon that you never could imagine is going to hit the financial markets. It's going to hit the rich. The West is about ready to experience a cataclysmic financial slap upside the face. I'll get into that in a minute. So, compared to 9.6% for the previous month. So, the inflation rate year over year is 8.525 compared to 9.06% for the previous month. Inflation for June 2022 to July 2022 was 0.012%, which is a complete and utter absolute lie. That's an absolute lie. Just complete lie. A lie beyond lie. This is all market manipulated lies pushed by propagandists that are making the maximum amount of profits, living the high life while the rest of the world and the countries are suffering hyperinflation. This is the same perpetual lie that they perpetuated on everybody, that mainstream media did not receive a notice on their YouTube accounts, their Facebook accounts, saying that when they said it was going to be transitory was a lie. It was complete. They knew the beginning of this. They knew that when they printed off that fake fiat currency, that they were going to cause hyperinflation. We weren't doing bills in the millions and billions. It was in the trillions, and that's where they knew that this was going to happen. Now let's explain why. So, consumer price up 9.1% over the year ended in June. Over 12 months ended June 22nd, or June of 2022, consumer price index and all urban consumers increased 9.1%. A 9.1% increase is the all-time index, whatever, high. So, why are we going to face a cataclysmic explosion, a just devastation of the Western hypocrisy of the why are we going to have to live the days of plenty are over for the West. And it's really it's actually not simple. I mean, I couldn't say this is simple for the average Joe, the average Jane out there. It's nothing really to do with what you've done. It's all to do with what they have done. Nixon took us off the gold standard. Okay, we have enjoyed a fake fiat currency called the U.S. dollar. We've had a sister currency called the euro, when the European Union got together to develop the European Union. We had the best of all worlds. Now, that there is where everybody, the normal people, need to step back and look at this and understand what really happened. The truth of the matter is, this type of fake fiat currency enslaved mass populations across planet Earth, including China. That was a governmental enslavement of workers for very, very low wages, sweatshops, 8-year-olds making your Nike tennis shoes. Okay? There is masses of people that have been making cheap stuff for the West because of that dominant currency. The kleptocrat thefticons at the top, the ultra rich, the investment insaniacs, the other than us global rich, the people that could not lift a finger to do anything other than sit there and call their financial advisors over the money that they inherited or got with some way to get in some company and enslave an entire population in Indonesia to make them a bunch of products for extreme low wages, or all over the Orient for making basically $2 or $3 a day to produce that cheap stuff so the West can bounce around like, look at me, wee. Well, you're starting to see what happens when the scam starts to run into brick walls. And the brick wall that it has just recently ran into was the COVID pandemic. Prior to this, though, let's go back before the outbreak of this COVID pandemic, and trillions and trillions and untold trillions have been sucked and spread out and given to the rich theftocrats at the top, thefticons, the global theft ring. We needed to understand what was happening. We had what they call the repo market. That means that the banks were not liquid enough to continue to lend out money. We were already experiencing this prior to this catastrophe called the outbreak of COVID. The markets were overstretched. Gold was undervalued. Everything was a commodities disaster. It was a lie. It was people speculating. They speculate on the price of everything to make themselves more money. They crash the markets down a little bit, buy up all the stocks, and then make a bunch of money off it. But everybody, all of that, was being ran off of enslaving entire populations in other countries to do their bidding so they could suck up what those people should have had to have a decent life. You know, a car, a house. What we used to have as Americans, we've stolen now from the younger generations for greed. But I'll get into that. So we enslaved mass populations throughout the world to produce all the garbage. China jumped right on board. China's like, you betcha, yeah, we'll enslave. We got billions of people. We'll enslave all kinds of them just for work for a bowl of rice. We'll do whatever it takes to get that cheap junk to you guys. We'll get the materials you need. Meanwhile, they're sucking it up. The Saudis, with the last Obama administration, this new Obama administration, Biden administration is now the former administration, made the Saudis and OPEC extremely rich. By what? For what? Global climate catastrophes. Fossil fuel prices. We need to raise the price of fuel that made them rich. See how this is happening? See how it's happening, right? But Kuwait's massive richness, the Saudis' richness, sickening richness, basically wiping their butts with $100 bills. Ross Perot came out and said the largest transfer of wealth in human history was happening with oil out of the Middle East. We were shoveling our wealth there. That's when the dollar was worth more. Okay? Worth a lot more. The Obamas brought it up to $4 or $5 a gallon. I was there last recession, horrible. But we took the wealth from here. The poor countries, we gave them the wealth, or we actually bought their garbage. We bought their garbage they were making. But the rich at the top were orchestrating all this. They were orchestrating all these investors, these great big hedge funds, these global kleptocrats were orchestrating poverty and basically slavery to produce a garbage for the Americans to sit around like gluttonous nobodies that complain about their French fries being cold at McDonald's. Okay? But they don't realize that all that they have, all that this throwing away tons of food because they can't sell it in the supermarkets for overpriced expiration dates. That was all because China, Russia, India, other countries on the other side that were impoverished to make the garbage for the fake wealth created by the fiat currency that was a global currency because of the oil dollar. You follow me? The Saudis were in on this. OPEC was in on this. We had control of Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, and the oil. Everybody traded their currency to get that oil. U.S. dollar values through the roof. They lost to get that oil. It was more expensive for them. They could never really advance because they had enslaved their people to buy expensive oil with their currency. They didn't have the wealth that we had created that was fake. It was fake. The house of cards is finally crashing down. It's finally coming to a roadblock again, a wall. And this is BRICS, not Brexit. This is BRICS. This is Brazil, Russia, all the other guys. They are the ones that have the resources because they don't want us through the environmental stuff and all this just to save the planet, even though we're going to freeze to death. There's a movement to stop us from developing our resources. Europe's screwed. They're just caught in the middle of it. But the other issue is China. When they form their union, they are going to be so powerful because the West has used these people. We're talking a bowl of rice working 12 hours a day in a sweatshop. Their citizens are going to fight back in this sense because the fake fiat currency was over-borrowed. They stole all the money. They liquidated the dollar for their trillion-dollar bills that went right back to the rich guys. They crashed the value of the dollar. Like I said, the financial mechanism of Europe and America is broken. They busted it. Anyway, I've got to go. I don't know what's happening outside. I will post this. Thank you for watching.